just right off the bat, I'm not talking about yaoi anime. I mean, obviously I've watched all the yaoi anime that's come out until this point, but come on, my sister watches these videos. Anyway, I'm gonna preface this by saying, I know you guys aren't gonna agree with everything I say here. Hell, I know people that don't agree with anything I'm about to say, but that doesn't make it any less correct. Also, maybe there are a few spoilers sprinkled around for some of these anime. Back to the topic. I've been called heartless, insensitive, and pessimistic, among other things, by friends and family alike for my views on romance. And I'll bite the bullet on some of that, most of that, but I think I'm right about romance anime. I've never been into it. I know females aren't just hardwired to enjoy romance media, but let me vent for a second. I recently introduced my younger sister to anime, and I've been throwing recommendations her way, making sure not to poison her with that romance nonsense. I leave her alone for about a month, and that's all she watches now. The disappointment I felt was palpable. Now I just have to wait for her to be old enough for me to cut contact with her. My sister watches these videos. Well, we could start now. Back on topic again. I never used to understand why I couldn't get through most of the romance anime I was recommended, but I think I finally get it now. I have one very big issue that's present in most romance anime, which I am going to explain by example. Let's talk about Ouran High School Host Club. Wait, please, don't go. Hear me out, please. Ouran is one of the most beloved romance animes, and I get why. The setting was interesting, I liked the characters, not Mori was a prop, and it had good comedic timing. The only thing I didn't care for was the romance. Let me explain. Tamaki likes Haruhi, right? But have these two ever held a real conversation? These two are on completely different wavelengths for the entire show. How am I supposed to believe that these two can realistically have a relationship together? If anything, she seems more like his babysitter than his lover. In a lot of these types of shows, the romance amounts to, oh, coincidences. Oh, she's so nervous. That's so cute. He opened the door for her? He's in love. Meanwhile, they've exchanged 2 sentences throughout the whole episode. The romance never seems to flow well. They barely seem like friends. Please tell me someone agrees with me. I find that when I do end up enjoying romance anime, it's for everything but the romance. A great example is Akatsuki no Yona, which is about a princess trying to take her country back after a coup. It's got a real plot and character development. So why do I care about who she's gonna end up with at the end? I mean, the guys are cool and all, but is this really the time? That's like saying that people actually cared about whether Naruto and Hinata were gonna get together while the actual story was still going. I think that comment might have cost me anyone who's still on my side at this point, but it had to be said. Then there's Nagi no Asu Kara, which had a really engaging premise. Humanity is separated between people on the surface and people who live in the sea. And after what I guess is the only school underwater closes down, these sea kids have to attend school on the surface. It's a coming of age story where we get to follow this little racist as he learns that the air breathers aren't all bad. I actually really liked this one, and it was really pretty. But once again, the romance of the show is borderline torture. Are these two in love? I don't know. She's in a coma for half the show. Those are the spoilers I mentioned earlier, by the way. And these two are just kind of forced to be together because they're the only ones that aged when the rest of the characters didn't, which then made it illegal for her to date her initial love interest. Also, I don't really care to follow a romance between a bunch of middle schoolers, which is a great segue to talk about Gakuen Alice, which is a show about a bunch of middle schoolers going to a school for kids with superpowers, like Sky High or X-Men. I think that's it. It's actually a lot darker than the original premise made it out to be, and it actually made me want to read the manga, which, okay, maybe another unpopular opinion, but I don't know how I feel about shoujo manga art. Well, I do know how I feel, but it's not good. I feel like the only way to describe it is fuzzy? I don't know, does this bother other people too? But then you might ask, why am I able to read yaoi manga? Well, shut up. This series also cemented the trope I hate the most in romance anime. The whole guy bullying a girl he likes. Like, these guys are straight up jerks 99% of the time, but doing one nice thing negates all of it? All of it? No one would ever find that shit cute in real life. So why is it so common in these shows? Anyway, aside from all of that, it's still a pretty good read. I'd recommend it. Clannad. Everyone likes Clannad. I'm not gonna shit on Clannad, or else I might actually get cancelled. But maybe it could have been a little shorter? Like, season 2 was great, but I feel like half of season 1 didn't need to exist. But I will say the funny moments in the show were really funny, and Okazaki and Tsunohara are like the best comedy duo I've seen in anime. Also, it's a little hard for me to get immersed in the romance part of an anime that's adapted from a dating sim, because sometimes it just looks like one character leading on multiple people. I think Clannad did the best job I've seen of it, but no, I'm actually scared for my life here. Forget what I said, Clannad's great. 10 dead kids out of 10. Several steps under Clannad, we have Air, another key anime, where we follow Yukito, a man who I think got the wrong memo, thought he was gonna be in an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! And styled his hair accordingly. Anyway, we get to follow this grown man as he woos a bunch of high school girls, and then decides that he's ready to die for one that he's only known for a few days. I'll admit, I watched this when I was 11, and I had no clue what was going on with the actual plot of the show. I remember that he turned into a crow at some point for a reason, and then I remember crying. And then I remember my older sister seeing I was crying over an anime, and then laughing at me. So, great anime, 10 out of 10. My Little Monster was okay. It follows the story of a stalker in training who falls in love with a girl because she delivered his school printouts for him while he was cutting class. So we get to watch him get depressed and violent every time she rejects him, which are obviously the only appropriate reactions. All jokes aside, I did actually enjoy the characters in this one. They were fairly unique and not too one-dimensional. But I think I got everything I needed from the anime. I feel like that's one of the problems with these types of romance animes that don't have any overarching plot, that it doesn't feel like there's much more to see after the anime ends. I imagine the manga is just more of the same, so I wasn't too emotionally compelled to read it. It's a fun watch though. I give it 10 rape threats out of 10. I don't know why that was a thing that happened in the show. Going through this list, I noticed that I tend to gravitate more towards shounen romance as opposed to shoujo romance. Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches is a really fun show about witches with different powers activated by kissing. The most kissing I've ever seen in an anime. In a PG anime. Though once again, the romance is a little, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the main character kisses the love interest more than he's actually talked to her. Aside from that though, it's actually a really good show. I'd recommend it. Okay, stick with me for this one. The World God Only Knows is about a dating sim junkie who uses his knowledge to make girls fall in love with him, to help get rid of demonic parasites that are inside of them, being forced to do so by some devil that would chop off his head if he refuses. Romantic, right? Either way, it's everything I want in a romance anime. They wrap up the entire love affair in like 2 to 3 episodes and then move on to the next one. It's extremely tropey, but it's supposed to be making fun of the genre, and it does so pretty well. Though they seem to skip like 2 arcs from the manga between season 2 and season 3, so I might recommend just reading it. Yeah, this anime did it before it was cool. Koito Uso is an anime that I'm not sure if people watched, but it was really interesting. For a time. It's set in an alternate version of Japan where people are assigned a partner based on compatibility calculations. And our main character has a crush on his classmate, but gets assigned a different partner. They're both opposed to it at first, but then he starts getting on with the girl he was assigned to because I guess compatibility tests work in this world. And once again, he's barely talked to the other girl he has a crush on. Though I guess that didn't stop them from, yeah. So obviously the moral of this story is to always trust the government. The anime fumbled really hard at the end, but everything before that was pretty interesting, so I guess I'll recommend it. Golden Time is an anime I also enjoyed. The college setting disproved my working theory at the time that Japan required you to fall in love by the end of high school, since that's where 99% of romance animes are set. And this show had to have some of my favorite characters in anime. Their interactions were very fun to watch, and this is the first time I saw some real effort actually being put into showing a developing relationship. And I thought these two characters looked cute together. And they did both have at least one thing in common, in that they were both nuts. Really good show though. I give it 10 therapy sessions out of 10, though I recommend they both at least get one. Then of course we can't forget to talk about everyone's favorite romance anime about musicians, HaruChika, which, like, does this one count? There's a main female lead and a main male lead, but they're both in love with the teacher. So just by the logistics of it, I don't think these two are getting together. Not that you ever get any clarity in the anime, because it ends before anything really happens, and it's adapted from a novel, and I'm illiterate, so I'll never find out how this one ends. So there are times where the show is good, but the romance isn't very good. Then there are times where the romance isn't good, and the story isn't good. And the characters aren't good, and the jokes aren't good, and the art isn't good. Let's talk about a few of them. One of the worst romance animes I've ever seen is La Corda de Oro. A girl in a specialized music school with no music skill meets a fairy that gives her a magical violin. And I'm supposed to cheer on this cheating ass bitch when she enters a competition full of people that actually practiced all their lives? I don't think so. I don't really mind the trope where people fall in love with someone for their skills, but it's hard to take any of it seriously when everyone's like, wow, how are you so good? And she's just like, you know, it came to me. I didn't finish this one. Say I Love You. Oh my gosh, this one sucked. It was extremely boring. The characters were so bland. It's like they threw a bunch of tropes at the wall to see what would stick. I know I finished it, but it was so forgettable that I couldn't even describe a single scene to you. If anyone actually enjoyed this anime, feel free to tell me why in the comments, and I promise I'll read it before I promptly delete it. We're not spreading propaganda here. I watched the original Fruits Basket anime and I had to be stopped from clawing my eyeballs out, but I know it's not fair to judge the series on the original anime since it wasn't accurate to the manga, so I will refrain from commenting, and refrain from watching the remake. Okay, this next one I know is gonna get me put on some kind of list, so if you're a hardcore shoujo fan, I suggest leaving, because I know this one is a classic. Please, I'm saying this for the both of us, just go. Okay, skip beat. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. I did appreciate the fact that it wasn't set in a fucking high school, but that's about where my appreciation ends. The show doesn't make any sense. A girl runs away with her childhood crush to help him become an idol. She finds out that he's just a manipulative asshole using her as a piggy bank and a maid. Not because she noticed all the signs that he doesn't give a shit about her, but because she overheard him saying it to someone else. Like, how am I supposed to believe that you grew up with someone when you don't know anything about him? Now that she finds out about his very well-kept secret, she vows revenge by trying to become a celebrity more popular than him, which, if she manages to succeed, then this guy sucks. Because this has been a dream he's been going for all his life, and she just got this goal last week. Also, their parents must not give a shit about them, because they ran away to be celebrities on TV, so they must know where their kids are, and just aren't looking. Anyway, these characters are so unlikable. Kyoko's a fool. Sho was obviously already shown to be a hot piece of doo-doo, so I don't know what the goal is in trying to redeem him. And Ren has to be the most bland male protagonist I've ever seen. He feels like a damn parody of shoujo male leads because he's so unbelievably cliche. But the series is old enough that maybe he did it first? I don't know. Anyway, I know people enjoy it. I'm not just gonna sit here and shit on it any more than I already have. I'll just say it's not for me. Now that I've sufficiently canceled myself, I think it's best to end on a positive note. I mentioned before that I really only enjoy shounen romance, but there is one shoujo anime that I actually did enjoy for the romance. Lovely Complex, or Lovecom. I love the series so much that I bought the DVDs and the whole manga. Or at least I would have if Viz could stop discontinuing all of their manga. The synergy between the two main characters feels so natural. They're actually friends, they have similar interests and hobbies, things that, based on other romance anime I've seen so far, I would have imagined you didn't want in a significant other. The premise of the show is that they're both trying to find people to go out with that aren't concerned about their heights. Cause she's really tall for a Japanese girl and he's 5'1"? Okay, I didn't know he was that short. He's probably gonna have more trouble than her. Anyway, these guys are great. The comedy is great, the chemistry is great, and it taught me some great life lessons about friendship, internal validation, and equal opportunity. Good stuff, good stuff. I have a friend that always asks me why I keep talking about this anime as the best shoujo romance, and this is why. Now stop recommending me crap. Finally, here are a list of other romance anime I watch, but are too obscure for me to talk about because no one cares. As you can see, I think I've done my due diligence with romance anime. I think the genre is just not for me. But hey, maybe I've accidentally only picked out bad ones. Instead of thinking about the mathematical probability of that, please feel free to let me know of all the good ones I missed. I know I've been told to watch Kaguya-sama, but that's about it. Also, feel free to like the video if you agree with my objective analysis. And if you disagree, please just remember that the dislike button is only a personal attack because no one can see the dislikes but me. And where's the humanity in that?